So today we're doing something a little bit different. It's not a drink video. I know, we're all so shocked, but I did promise to do some different types of content, so here we are. Today we're making banana bread. I know that a lot of people have been really getting into baking while we're all staying at home. I know that I have, but this banana bread recipe is a little bit different. Not only is it both gluten and dairy free, but you only need one banana, which is great if you're buying bananas to use in smoothies, pancakes, snacking. If you happen to have one that's just a little bit too ripe, then you can just throw it on into this recipe and get some banana bread. Let's get started.
This was a very sad attempt at a montage. I swear they get better as it goes on. I made a little digital recipe card, so if you guys want to save it for later, just go ahead and screenshot. I wanted to take a quick second to talk about the flour that I'm using for this recipe because it takes all of the guesswork out of making any recipe gluten-free. It has xanthan gum added to it, which a lot of gluten-free flours don't happen to have. And essentially, xanthan gum is an ingredient that helps in normal flour to help it stick together, and a lot of times in gluten-free recipes, the texture is a bit off, and so this specific flour has it added in, so that way, when you bake, it'll end up having a very similar texture that a normal baked good would have. Again, this is just really helpful with making any recipe gluten-free, and you can find it in pretty much any grocery store. I'll have it linked down below too. Alright, and so to start off, we're going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees, and then actually start making the bread. So we're going to start off with the dry ingredients. First up, we're adding the flour. And then next comes the brown sugar. I choose to only do a quarter. My grandma taught me to always half the amount of sugar that a standard recipe would show because there's usually way more sugar than you actually need. And then after the baking soda, we're moving on to the wet ingredients. I'm using oat milk, and it's an extra creamy oat milk. I love this stuff. But of course, feel free to use whatever milk alternative you personally like. There's so many out there nowadays, like almond and soy. It's really just up to you. And same thing with the oil. I choose vegetable oil. It's what I typically bake with. I'm using this instead of butter to make it dairy free, and you can basically just half the amount of butter with oil. And next up we have the banana. This one was very ripe, so it was a little bit hard to get into the mixer, but we got it in there. I was so satisfied with this clip, not gonna lie. So now that the egg's in, we're going to wash our hands because we just had raw egg on our hands and we don't want to contaminate anything. Also, make sure to just wash your hands to not spread other types of germs. Alright, and now adding vanilla. And now we're going to mix all of these ingredients together. And you want to make sure that the batter isn't super runny, but also it's not supposed to be super thick either. I really like the process of watching the batter form. I don't know about you guys. So here, when I lift up the mixer, you'll be able to see that it's not super runny, but it's not super thick either. And then I like to fold in the chocolate chunks and the pecans. And cue the montage. And end montage. When you put the batter into the pans, you want to make sure there's a little bit of space left up at the top so that way the bread doesn't end up spilling out everywhere as it's baking. So let's get these in the oven. I was struggling hardcore here. You want to bake the bread for 40 to 45 minutes. I set a timer for 40 so I could check on it, and it ended up being perfect.
And there you have it, a 1 banana gluten-free and dairy-free banana bread. It smells so good. Alright, and so that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to cut a slice of that banana bread and have some. It honestly smells so good in here. And now the moment you all have been waiting for, the bloopers. What's happening, my dudes? That can go into the bloopers because I did not want to use that much brown sugar. Technical difficulties. This is just going to run in the bloopers. Ah, there we go.